Hello, everyone, and welcome. Wow, has it been another month already? Well, more like a month and a week. I originally wanted to get this done last weekend, but due to what seems like consistent, typical, fashion, something came up that resulted in me having to kind of push it by an entire week. So the short version is, last weekend I had two very peculiar appointments in the same day, and I had very peculiar, interesting reactions to both of them that more or less put me out of commission for a whole week. While I try, and I basically needed to be on bed rest as much as I could, outside of work and the other stuff that I usually do. For that whole week while I recovered and actually got back into full functioning order, if you will. But here I am now, sitting down to talk about the few things that have occurred this past month. So previously, I had mentioned that I had my 6-month follow up, and with that would be my change in medication. So now I'm going to kind of talk about that. So starting with month 7, my prescription has been boosted a little bit. So now I am presently taking 4 milligrams of estradiol a day, over than previously being 2, and then I'm still taking 50 milligrams of spirulactone twice a day. So basically, aside from estradiol being doubled, my spirulactone is still the same. So boosting those numbers, and I'm supposed to be going in for another for blood work in the next 2 to 3 months, to just see how my levels are doing, to see if they need to make any tweaks or whatnot to my medication. But other than that, that's really kind of the medical, the medical variable here as to how things could have impacted. But getting to the actual changes, sadly, there really wasn't that much. But I'll get into that into a moment. But let me just go starting with the psychological stuff. So as far as my psychological and mental side of things goes, haven't really noted. The only real notable thing that I noticed this past month has been that I've been a little bit far more abrasive, far more snarky, far more sassier than usual. Like I've noted in the past that since starting hormones, that I've definitely noticed I've become a little bit more abrasive, a little bit more not confrontational, but a little bit more assertive with how in contrast to my typical behavior. I'm a very laid back, go with the flow, passive individual. I just kind of roll with things. I still very much do, but I definitely noticed that even in light of that, I'm definitely a lot more assertive. I'm definitely a lot more sassier when it comes to how I, my tone, how I interact with with others, and to the extent that my friends and coworkers have taken notice. And I just find it interesting yet bizarre at the same time. I don't look at it as a bad thing. I mean, I think it's great to stand your ground and those types of things, but that just seems so out of character for me. But at the same time, it feels I feel like it's a welcome change. I just feel like I have to really kind of carefully check my tone in the way that I say things and approach others, and do things like that, because that not only am I very self-conscious of my interactions with others and the things that I say to them, I feel like I have to do that now more than ever, because I'm far more sassier, I'm far more snarkier, I'm far more abrasive towards others, that I feel like I really need to check my tone this time around, or out of fear that I might say something the wrong thing, or I might be a little bit too aggressive towards others, which is never my intention. I don't like to. I never like to be angry with people. It's because because I'm just not an angry person in general. I'm just a very easygoing individual. So that's the most notable thing that I've seen with the psychological side of things. I'm still moderately more emotional, but then again, I haven't really seen anything really emotional lately to really kind of put me in touch with that. It's just been stuff as usual. But now moving on to the physical stuff, and that's where I feel like this is the most underwhelming side of things, because I don't really feel like noticed anything happening. Body hair, that's still looks the same. Physique hasn't really changed anything that I've noticed. Chest still sore, tender, but haven't really noticed any growth or development there. Everything just feels like it's the same, and that's just bizarre to me, because like, you think I made it to the 6 month mark. It's like I was told, and I would assume that, the next 6 months would be, filled with, even more noteworthy, notable changes and stuff as I, develop and whatnot. But also it's like, oh, my prescription was boosted. It's like I'm now taking double the dose of estradiol. I feel like with more of that running through my system, it should be kind of, boosting that process, not speeding it up, but more like boosting, those effects and those changes and everything. But I haven't really noticed anything, and I'm probably going to deduce it to like one of two things. It's like maybe this is just an off month, as just how that works based on based on my body, my genetics, all of that fun stuff that absolutely makes no sense to me. Well, at least in an in-depth level, more like less than a surface level type of way. Or it's just maybe I'm still getting acclimated to the change in my dosage. It's like, oh, I've been so used to taking the same, stuff for the last 6 months. Maybe now that my prescription has been, changed and I'm taking more, that, maybe I'm still getting adjusted to those changes, and that maybe by month 8 I will start seeing stuff happen. I have absolutely no way. I honestly have no way of knowing. I just find it a little bit bizarre and underwhelming that it's just like, oh, it's like the next 6 months should be filled with changes as I get closer to that, get closer to the year one mark. At least that's what I feel. That's what I assume. But then at the same time, I feel like I can rationally understand that, like, oh, maybe, from a medical standpoint, it's just I'm still getting used to the change in prescription, and who knows what could happen in the next month. I'm honestly not sure, but that's really the all of it. Sorry to provide such an underwhelming or disappointing update, but it is what it is. I'm not gonna lose sleep over it. I'm not gonna make a fuss over it. It's just, it's just part of the wonderful. It's just how it is, I guess. But yeah, that's really the gist of it. So anyway, thank you all very much for watching, and take care.